good afternoon. I would like to introduce you to Elizabeth Hurley, who has very kindly joined us for the Science of Youth series. Thank you very much for joining us, Elizabeth.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Graeme. I'm actually really excited not only to meet you, but to ask you lots of questions, most of which are my own and some of which are my friends, which they've asked me to ask you.
Well, I'd be delighted to answer them if I could. So please fire away.
Well, so I've had my laser now for 3 months, just over 3 months, and I've been using it as close as I can to every day. So I think I've seen some differences, but people keep saying to me, what exactly is near infrared light? And of course, I don't know. So I think actually some of us would actually like to understand exactly what it is and why that's going to make a difference to our faces and bodies.
Okay, great. So near-infrared laser therapy is a mechanism whereby we can convert light energy, because near-infrared light is part of what we call the visible spectrum, and convert that light energy into chemical energy within the cell. And it does so. It's a very clever mechanism of doing it, whereby there is a molecule in cellular mitochondria, which is the battery pack of the cell, if you like, which selectively absorbs light at that very particular wavelength. And what it does is it uses that light to power the production of units of chemical energy. They're called ATP. And the cells store these units of chemical energy. And it kind of, if you like to think of it as energizing the cell. Now, the real key is that cells behave differently depending upon what level of energy state they happen to be in. So cells that have high levels of ATP actually express a different set of genes from cells that are relatively ATP deplete.
Can I jump in there? So would normally younger cells have more ATP than, say, my cells? Will my son, who's 23, will he have more ATP in his cells than me?
Well, two things. Firstly, young cells are better at generating ATP. They do so more efficiently. Right. And secondly, there is a higher density of these energy-producing mitochondria within the cells. What you tend to find is that as you get older, your cells become relatively depleted of mitochondria, these little battery packs. And the battery packs that do remain are not as efficient as converting energy into ATP. So cells become relatively sluggish. And that sluggishness of those cells actually is reflected in the types of genes that are expressed by the cells. And the genes that are expressed are pro-inflammatory cells and cells that are associated with tissue breakdown. By contrast, when you have a cell in a high energy state, it tends to preferentially select for the expression genes that are associated with tissue regeneration. So you might think of it as genes that produce collagens, but not only collagens, the right blend of collagens to give your dermis the kind of youthful vigor that they had in your 20s.
So we're trying to regenerate by using these LYMA lasers.
That's correct.
We're trying to rev our cells up to behave in a less sluggish manner.
Indeed, yeah. So regeneration is a very different concept from repair. Right. The issue with repair is that you first have to cause a tissue injury. So what happens is you cause a controlled tissue injury, whether that be from a high energy laser or from microneedling or from radio frequency.
Is that like things like Fraxel are?
Yeah.
They're damaging something to cause repair?
That's right, yeah. They are damaging your tissue selectively. And in doing so, they cause an inflammatory response. And it's the accumulation of inflammatory cells in the area of damage that actually bring about a repair process. But the problem is that your body has evolved over a long period of time to generate repair quickly. There is no selective advantage to making a nice scar. There is only a selective advantage to making a scar as quickly as possible so that you're less susceptible to infection and to further damage. So what happens is that a repair process is somewhat unpredictable in terms of the quality of the repair process and in terms of the blend of repair tissue structures, the collagens, if you like, that are being produced. Another way of looking at this is that a scar is just a blend of collagens. But a hypertrophic scar, that means a scar which is raised, lumpy, thick, even a keloid, is just a different blend of collagens. It's a relatively higher proportion of type 1 collagen to type 3 collagen. And the problem is that if you injure or damage your tissue and expect the tissue repair process to produce collagens on your behalf, you've got no control whatsoever about which blend of collagens are being produced.
So could we be saying that this near-infrared laser is more controllable, in fact, because unlike if you use a violent laser, which is going to cause some damage and then some scarring, which you said is quite difficult to control exactly what that scarring is, that perhaps this would avoid that?
It would certainly avoid it because it avoids tissue damage.
So we're not damaging. So by using this laser, no one's damaging anything.
No one's damaging anything. And
because that is, they damage to heal, but you're saying why damage in the first place if you can heal anyway?
If you can cause a regenerative response without causing a tissue injury, then
that
would
right?
be preferential. Yeah.
Well, I've never had any kind of Fraxel or scary laser treatment because I always just thought it sounded scary. So when I heard about this, I was really interested to see if by not doing something which sounded scary to me, one could also have a good effect. So what's the longest you've been with a patient who's used one of these, and what kind of results have you seen?
Right. Okay. So there are really three groups of patients, if you like, that benefit from this. The first one is the preoperative patient group. These are patients who haven't had surgery yet, because being a regenerative implement, this is something that can be used in order to prepare yourself for surgery by optimizing the quality of the tissues that you've already got. Now, that definitely helps. It helps me as a surgeon because it helps to give me the best materials to work with. The second group is the perioperative patient group. These are patients who've just had surgery, patients who are increasingly very active and engaged in their own recovery from surgery. And there are patients who are looking to have something that can help them recover. Because this is non-injurious. This helps, and inherently anti-inflammatory. This helps with recovery. It accelerates recovery. It reduces swelling post-operatively. It reduces bruising, and it's something that patients can really get their teeth into and use to help the recovery process. And the third group is the maintenance phase. Those patients who've had surgery and want to ensure that in the long term, the results of the surgery are as good as they possibly can be.
Okay, but what if you don't have any intention of having any surgery? You just like to look better. Is that going to help?
Well, then it would go back to that first patient group, that preoperative patient group. It's the same thing.
Oh, I
what
see.
You're really
but they're just not planning to have surgery.
Yeah, not planning
they
to have
just
surgery.
like to have this laser at home and look better.
Yeah, in order to optimize what they've already got.
Is that going to work?
Yeah, it does, but it's not an overnight solution.
No.
It needs effort. It needs maintenance, and we expect to see results within a few weeks. But the more diligently you apply the therapy protocol, the better the results you're going to see.
So what I was trying to say, and I obviously expressed myself in a muddled way. So what's the longest you've been looking, someone like me, so not planning to have surgery, has a lovely LYMA laser and wants to see results? How long have you stuck with someone to see with your own eyes what results may have happened over what period of time?
Okay, so the LYMA laser has only been available for a few years as a product. So we have the longest term follow-up that we have is 4 or 5 years, and there's absolutely no doubt that those who've been using it longest. In fact, to go back to something we were previously discussing, before the damage has happened, it can actually help to delay some of that damage and offset some of that damage and optimize these skin. So there really is no earliest opportunity to start using it. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that, but I'll just talk about myself for one moment longer. So, without being mean and rude, what would I hope to see as a result from continuing to keep going with my laser, which I intend to do, but what would you hope that I could achieve?
Okay, well, you're very lucky, Elizabeth, in that you've got a very good starting point in that you've looked after your skin. You don't have a lot of sun-related skin damage. You don't have the kind of damage that you get from smoking, from from alcohol consumption, from poor diet, from massive fluctuations in weight, and these are some of the things that damage skin, and so the starting point is different. Having looked after your skin for a long period of time, you really are the kind of person who will offset some of those aging effects best by continued use. So it's not to say that you're not going to benefit if you have had any of these things. It's just that the expectations differ slightly.
So when I was given this, thank you for saying I don't have any sun damage. I've got some makeup on. I have a few bits of sun damage. It's not bad,
Yeah.
but I have got a bit of sun damage, and I notice as I get older that I'm seeing it more. But I have been incredibly careful my whole life with a good SPF on my face. So and I've never had a sunburn in my life, but nevertheless, I still see sun damage coming up. So do you think if I continue to apply this wand to my sun damage, it is going to fade them?
Yes, I think they will. So the key here really is the balance of reparative interventions versus destructive interventions, if you
Right.
like. So the key is not on one side using the LYMA laser in order to help to regenerate your skin, and on the other hand is the avoidance of things that are going to damage the skin. There isn't really any point in doing one without the other, if you like. So it's not the fact that you can maybe use the LYMA laser because you're planning to have lots of sun exposure, or you're going to use the LYMA laser because you're still smoking. It's
Right.
not that kind of,
Yeah.
that the choices that you make, and if you make cumulatively good choices, that will show in your skin.
And how do you think this is going to help with fine lines on me?
Yes. One of the reasons for fine lines is because of loss of density of dermal proteins. So one of the dermal proteins that everybody knows about are the collagens. Okay, collagen, elastin, you hear these terms used a lot. There is actually lots of different types of collagens, and there's different types of elastins too. But one of the proteins that isn't mentioned very often are the so-called glycoproteins. Now, glycoproteins have sugar molecules attached to them, and what those sugar molecules do they are osmotically very active, so they draw fluid into them and they draw fluid around them. And this is very good for plumping up the dermis, for keeping the dermis nice and of good supple quality. Now, what you'll find with continued use is that part of this regenerative process, part of the upregulation of the genes that are expressing the collagens, including glycoproteins. So what you're going to find is that your dermis holds onto water better because of the presence of these glycoproteins. The other thing that it's going to do is it's going to increase the density of what we call capillaries in the subdermal plexus. This is the smallest of the blood vessels that are supplying blood to your skin. And you find that as you get older, the density of this blood supply to your skin deteriorates. So what happens is that you're not able to supply your skin with the nutrients, with the oxygen, and with the reparative cells that you were when you were younger. Well, by repairing the blood flow to your skin, you're going to help with all three of these things.
Interesting. Okay. And I was told that this could make a difference to the backs of hands for ladies or men, indeed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So the skin is the same, and actually the The only difference really is that skin in different places has slightly different color and texture and different thickness. So dermal thickness varies throughout the body. It's thickest on the back and it's thinnest on the eyelids.
And the hands are quite thin, aren't they?
But the hands are quite thin.
And they have a lot of sun exposure.
And typically have a lot of sun exposure. So it's definitely worthwhile using it for the hands as well.
Okay, then I follow LYMA on Instagram, and I saw a video of someone using it on their knees. What's that doing on the knees?
Yeah. So two things. Firstly, the case in question was about skin. Okay,
right.
It was about because obviously as you get older, you get wrinkles everywhere. You don't just get them on your face; you get them on your knees too. And the technology is the same, so it's going to repair skin anywhere that you need it to be repaired. And that might be it might be the face, it might be the back of the hands, it might be the knees, it might be
Do you think it'll make a difference to knees, which are looking a bit sad?
Yes, it does. It makes it makes a difference to knees.
And what about the time? I mean, I understand that something like the LYMA laser is not going to work if you do it twice a month and then forget about it. I get that. And since I've had mine for the last 3 months, I've tried incredibly hard to use it every day. Maybe I miss it once a week. Bad week, twice a week, but on the whole, I've been doing it pretty consistently. But it's not just 3 minutes of the laser, is it? It's 3 minutes per targeted area of the laser. So do you think it's okay that, you might do your face one day, your knees the next day, and your hands the next day? Or do you think it's ideal to do an entire I Love Me session and attack yourself with the laser?
Well, it's ideal to expose this areas of skin that you want to be subject to this rejuvenatory effect for 3 minutes a day. Now, obviously, that's going to require a bigger investment in time and effort if you're attempting to regenerate multiple areas of skin. So it's about building it into a routine and about doing it when you're doing other things. So
yes. Watching TV is absolutely the best one to do it, I think.
That's right, yeah.
Or being driven in a car.
I've seen people using it at the airport and flights.
Me too.
In the back of a taxi.
Yes.
So I've seen all of these areas. So any downtime, I think people find that even those who think they're pretty efficient with their time can always have 3 minutes a day to spend.
And that's okay to spread it out throughout the day. You could do your forehead in one taxi journey.
Yes.
And then whilst waiting for the potatoes to boil, you could do your cheeks, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that all sounds excellent. And I'm also told that one of the best things about this is that you can do it over your makeup. You don't have to have a clean, cleansed face. Is that true?
That's correct, yes.
Doesn't make any difference?
It doesn't make any difference.
Which is great. And it also does not damage delicate eye tissue, does it? It's for delicate eye tissue.
Yes.
Good, because those are also things I think that I was a bit scared about.
Mm-hmm. So in technical terms, we describe the what we call the photoacceptor molecule. That's the molecule that selectively absorbs this energy as what's called the chromophore. Okay, so the chromophore, this little molecule in cellular mitochondria that powers the production of ATP, is the chromophore for near-infrared light. It means that the flip side of that coin is that not only is it absorbing light at that particular wavelength, but everything else around it is ignoring it entirely. Right. And that's why it's perfectly safe to use. In fact, there's no harm at all in using it with your makeup on, because it's just going to ignore the makeup and go to exactly where it needs to be.
It's quite clever, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I have been really confused over the years when I keep reading about red light therapy, blue light therapy, LED therapy, and now I know that this is near infrared therapy. I don't really understand what they all are, and people have often said to me, because it's red, they've said, is this a red light therapy? And I've always said, well, it's definitely red. I don't really know, because I don't really know. Sure. So in a nutshell, why is this near infrared therapy different to red light, blue light, LED light?
Okay. So to understand this, we kind of have to go right back to the discovery of this process, photobiomodulation it's called, which was actually discovered in the early 1960s at Semmelweis University in Hungary. And what they discovered at the time was that near-infrared lasers accelerated wound healing. Right. In some of the models that they did. And this came as a complete surprise to them because they were not investigating lasers for the purpose of wound healing at the time. They were investigating lasers for the purpose of the potential to cause skin cancer. That's what they were worried about at the time. And what they find is that not only did it not cause skin cancer, it actually accelerated wound healing. Now, roll on 30 years and the fall of the Iron Curtain, and this the commercial potential of this therapy came to be realized in the West. But the big problem was that all of the evidence was based on a near-infrared laser, and a near-infrared laser is very difficult to commercialize. It so happened that at the same time, there had been big advances in the production of LEDs, and the capability of an LED to be designed in such a way that it gave light at a particular wavelength. It's called monochromatic, okay? Because at the time they thought that the only property of that near-infrared laser that was effective, the thing that was producing the effects that they could see, was the wavelength of the light. Right. So they started producing near-infrared LEDs and commercializing them. And the commercial potential of this was realized way in excess of the ability of the scientific evidence to keep up with it. Because LEDs are very cheap, they're cheap to produce, and therefore there were huge profits to be made by commercializing devices that were based on LED.
Do you think they work?
Well, the problem is that at a very superficial level, they do. And I've always said this, I'm not saying that LED therapy is a waste of time. What I'm saying is that the big problem and the big difference between LED therapy and laser therapy is that there are lots of features of the way that light is packaged in a laser that are contributing to the response that you see. And it's not just the wavelength. The big problem with LED is that the light interferes with itself destructively. That means
as in destructive for us to use it?
No, with itself. So what happens is that the kind of light that's produced might be of one wavelength, but it's chaotic and it's spread very widely. And when two of these little units of light, they're called photons, interact with each other, they obliterate each other and the energy is lost as heat. And that's why when you've ever sat under an LED lamp, it gets quite hot.
Yes.
Your skin also glows red, and the reason it glows red is because of reflected light. In other words, light that hasn't penetrated the skin, light that's just bounced off the skin. And so when you've got a combination of light that's being light energy that's being lost as heat and light energy that's reflecting off the skin, then probably what you get is you get heat-related peripheral vasodilation. It gives you a bit of a flush, and it probably works on the very topmost layer of cells in terms of photobiomodulation, but it doesn't penetrate to the depth of your dermis while retaining sufficient energy to actually cause the effects that we see.
Yeah. Well, I bought one of those white, bizarre LED masks once. To be honest, I don't think it did anything.
Yeah.
So,
and that's what we hear from
most people.
Most people.
Yeah, I don't think it did. My other burning question, because when I started to talk about this to a few of my friends, most of my friends are my age, and I've been saying, I really have a feeling this is making a difference and working for me. But then I've got a lot of much younger friends too. And so they've said, well, is this only for middle-aged people to try and repair a bit of damage and ward off what might be coming? Or is there something to be said to be using it now when, obviously a 25-year-old's got, in my opinion, pretty perfect skin? Can it help them too, or is this something that is for later in life?
It can absolutely help them now. So preventative healthcare is at the forefront of modern medicine. I think it's increasingly realized that the best form of cure is prevention. In other words, to stop things happening before they happen. Right. And from an aesthetic point of view, then preventing skin damage before it happens is definitely the best way to solve this problem. So the regenerative effects of the LYMA laser are absolutely to be used as early as possible. There probably isn't much benefit in teenagers using it simply because that they haven't accumulated any damage yet. But once you start getting out into the world, then it's definitely better to prevent those problems arising before. And so the use of the regular use of the LYMA laser, on one hand, balance with the prevention of
sunblock, no smoking,
yes,
don't drink too much alcohol, etc.
It's definitely going to be the combination that's going to give you the best looking skin as you get older.
And do you think, sorry, this is slightly off subject, but on that, so, you know, in 40 years' time, it could be that the youth of today look much better than my generation. But do you think my generation looks better than the generation before me, skin quality-wise? We know more about sunblock than my parents' generation knew.
Yeah.
During my lifetime, we've all been told that smoking is appalling for your skin. I know 1 in 4 youths don't drink any alcohol at all. And certainly most of my friends now drink very, very little. I drink almost no alcohol now. But do you think our skin is better than my parents' generation's skin? Because you see skin under the microscope all the time.
I do. I think different eras have different problems associated with them. Those of our era are probably of that era where we had too much sun exposure. A lot of our friends and colleagues and acquaintances smoked, drank, didn't get enough sleep, and that is reflected in the skin that they have today. I think there's absolutely no doubt about it that the youth of today are very much more attuned to self-care than we were at the same age. And that will be reflected in the skin later. But having said that, there are other challenges that, that they will have that perhaps we didn't have. The evidence says that the population is getting heavier. But added to that, we've also got the use now of things, of medications, to weight loss medications. And the thing about weight loss medications is that you get major fluctuations in weight, which has a very damaging effect on the skin. So I think, yes, it's true to a certain extent that the next generation will not have some of our problems, but they may have their own that are yet to be anticipated.
Yeah.
So, Elizabeth, I understand that you've now been using the LYMA Laser Pro for the past 3 months. Can you tell me about whether you think there's been any change?
I believe I do see a change. And I just told you previously I'd used LED masks and stuff. And truthfully, I never saw any change at all. And I just gave up on them in the end. But I've been really good for me at trying to use this laser as often as I can. And I've nearly got to once a day. I might miss 1 or 2 sessions a week if I just somehow didn't get there. But I think what really works for me with the LYMA laser is its portability and the fact that I can do it when I'm doing something else. Because I think if this was something I had to put aside an hour a day, there's no chance in the world I'd do it, because I don't have an hour a day where I can just sit down and stare in the mirror at myself. I mean, I wish I had that time, but I don't. So for me, I use it normally when I watch television or a movie in the evening, and that works really well for me. It's not tiny. So reading a book, you have to do a bit of hand swapping, but I also use it when I'm reading.
Right.
And because I want to try to do more areas than just, here, because I'm trying to do a bit more, because I really want to work on my hands. You've now inspired me to work on my knees. I don't know if I'm going to get there, because I'd have to take my pants off and then I'd be like, my trousers off, and then I'd be like, But I think that, so I can stand and, wait for the spin dryer to stop and use it for a minute, and standing by the auger, stirring something. So I'm quite good at carrying it around with me and using it. And I find that fits my lifestyle very well. If I'm being driven in a car, I'll have it in my handbag so that I can get it out of the way for that day there. And a flight, of course, is absolutely perfect. So I think its biggest plus is its portability. And the fact that you don't have to do it all at once, you can keep coming into little bits throughout the day. And I find that's worked very well for me.
Okay. Have you seen any change in your sunspots, for example, since you started using the LYMA laser?
To be honest, I think I have seen changes in some of the sun damage on my skin. And what I was really pleased about is, yes, I thought I could see a difference. And I've also just been away to the Maldives for 10 days. And I did, of course, use a heavy sunblock on my face. But nevertheless, you're still out in the sun. Yeah. So I was really nervous that when I came back, I'd be like, oh, I'm back to square one again. Not that I ever actually sit out in the sun at all, but you're in the sun, just walking to breakfast. So, you know, I brought my laser with me, which I continue to use. I used the sunblock, but of course, I was outside in a big sun. No difference at all. So nothing came back worse, for sure. Nothing stopped healing. So I actually feel that they have faded. And I think they faded on my hands too. So I'm going to keep going on that. And I'll have to do another 3-month update and then possibly a year at the end. Okay. But I do believe, yes. I mean, I was also told that right at the beginning, you could actually see that they're more prominent because you're really cleaning up the skin around it at the same time.
Yes.
And it's going to be slower to act on the sunspot, possibly, than on the cleaner skin around it. That could have been the case during the first 8 or 10 weeks, I think, possibly. But now I feel that it's smoothing it over.
Right.
So I'll report back. But I'm actually pretty happy with the results I'm getting so far with sunspots.
Have you had any success in getting Billy to use it?
Oh, that's very funny. Well, to be honest, I'm a little bit selfish with my laser, and I don't really want anyone to use my laser. So other people have asked to borrow it, and I'm kind of like, can't you get your own? So no, nobody's used my laser yet. Plus, I have to say, I wouldn't recommend it for people who wouldn't do it all the time, because I know you have to commit to this. Number one, for anyone to buy one, it's expensive. It's a commitment. So you'd have to really know that you're going to give it your all, I think, to use it. And Billy most certainly I don't think he would regularly use anything. I definitely have other friends who probably would if I were nice enough to lend it and if they charged it again so it was ready for me, because I'd be quite cross if they didn't recharge it. So I'm a bit queenie about things like that. But yes, I would. If I had a dedicated person living with me who I thought would use it wisely, I would let them.
Okay.
Yes. But no, not yet. Not him.
All right.
My sister wants actually to share it with me, and I'd most certainly be delighted for my sister to share it with me. I think that's actually quite good because they are an investment. So I think if you do share a house with someone, in fact, even if, as long as you're not all fighting over it when you're sitting down to watch the news, then you actually could share it quite well with people in your household, which would work well.
Okay.
So I was wondering that when you start to aim the laser at a sunspot, because it's the laser beam is bigger than the actual sunspot you're attacking, what's going to happen to the skin around it? Because I'm wondering if the skin around it cleans up first before it's going to really start to hone in on the brown bit, or am I making that up?
Yeah, it's a very good point. I think you're probably right. I think the likelihood is you're going to find that the areas of skin that are already pretty good are going to start looking better because they don't have so far to go to look the way that you want them to do. I think the likelihood is that, I think what's really important to say is that there are no areas that are going to look worse. It's simply the fact that the better areas might look better even quicker. And therefore the discrepancy between the good areas and the bad areas might be more pronounced. But I think over time, what you're going to see is that everything evens out. There's really good evidence with near-infrared laser therapy that it regulates the production of melanin, which is the skin pigment, and the distribution of melanin in something called melanosomes, which are really the little distribution vehicles, if you like, for melanin to the keratinocytes, so the basement membrane of your epidermis, which is the top layer of skin.
It's very grown up.
And over time, that's why, in theory, your skin looks more evenly pigmented than it did and especially if you've got some sun damage.
Interesting. So persevere with it on the sun damage.
So persevere with it.
Persevere. Yeah, and this is a less frightening and invasive way to deal with a sunspot than bleaching or using a burning laser, correct?
Everything else, yes, is pretty invasive. Everything else causes tissue damage, and it actually, some of the things actually work by a principle where if you cause damage to an area of skin pigment, you actually cause it what we call hypopigmentation. So you stop the production of melanin in that area.
Yes, that's what I feared. And then you just have a white spot instead of a brown spot.
And then you've got a white spot instead of a brown spot. Now, the problem, as we said before, the problem with a tissue injury / repair mechanism is that you're never quite sure what way it's going to go. So it's a very imprecise way of maybe getting to the same time point. The issue with the LYMA laser is that you don't have the worry because it's working a fundamentally different way. So you're not going to get hypopigmentation, and you're not causing a tissue injury.
What about when people used to freeze sunspots?
Yeah, so exactly the same thing. So freezing is highly destructive. Freezing is a thermal injury in exactly the same way as high-powered lasers are a thermal injury. It's just exposure to extreme cold rather than extreme heat. But the energy distribution is the same. It causes a burn. It's just a cold burn rather than a hot burn.
And there's a good chance you'll go to white.
And there's a good chance that
not your own skin tone.
You will hypopigment, unless, of course, you happen to be heavily pigmented anyway, in which case there is also the possibility that will go the other way and you will become hyperpigmented as a result of the injury and even darker.
Okay, well, I'm too scared to do any of that sunspot removal, so I think I'm going to stick to my LYMA laser for the sunspots. Okay. So in non-grown-up doctor terms, what exactly is the difference between the LED red light therapy that we hear about so much and the LYMA technology?
Okay, well, it's the way that the light energy is produced. Okay, so it's still energy. It's just that the LED energy, light energy, is packaged in such a way that much of it is scattered and reflects off the skin surface. It's poorly penetrant. Most of it doesn't get through the skin, and the energy that does get through the skin cancels itself out within the very topmost layers of the skin.
And what's blue light?
Oh, so blue light is something else. So what they figured with blue light is that blue light helps kill some of the bacteria that live on the surface of the skin that cause pimples and acne. Right. Propionibacterium acnes is the term for it. And so it does something fundamentally different. It's not anti-inflammatory.
It's not a healer.
It's not regenerative. What it does is it kills some of the bacteria that cause pimples.
What, more than a skin toner would?
No.
Same.
So, yeah. So the quality of the evidence on this is pretty poor, and there haven't been any studies that have looked at blue light therapy versus what we call the gold standard in the industry, which is isotretinoin, which is a medication that very profoundly removes the bacteria and the production of excess what we call sebum, which is the oily stuff that lubricates your skin. And there's no doubt it's not as effective as that, but it can be a useful adjunct.
Okay, understood. All right. So we're doing much less scattering of energy when we use our LYMA laser rather than a big LED mask from Amazon, which may or may not be doing anything at all.
Well, yeah, you can actually make your own. That's the thing about it. You can go down to your local hardware store and buy a LED strip that for your children's
like a light?
bedroom.
No.
Yeah.
Is it the same?
And it's exactly the same technology.
You're kidding.
And, the wavelength of light might be slightly different, but the thing about these LED strips is that you can change the wavelength of light. So it's probably, I'm yet to see any evidence that the kind of LED face masks which are being sold at extravagant markups are actually any different from the LED strips that you can buy in your local hardware store to decorate your children's bedroom.
That's pretty terrifying. Okay, good to know. I shan't be wasting my money on an LED mask again, that's for sure. I did buy one. I didn't think it did anything. Yeah. All right, well, I think I've learned actually a great deal from you. So I think now when I'm asked about the LYMA laser, I can be fractionally more intelligent than I was before I sat down with you. So thank you very much
You're
for
very
teaching
welcome,
me
Elizabeth.
a little. Thank you. It was really informative. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Thank you.